Okay, good morning. It is Friday, Friday the 8th. It's about 10 a.m. In half an hour, I'm going to be on a panel being sponsored by CCSU, but I'm going to be on a panel talking about LGBTQ health disparities, um, and what that looks like. So if anyone has anything that you think that I should talk about, I love to run my mouth, but I also like to make sure that as I'm running my mouth, I'm representing my folks in the ways that I should be representing my folks. So LGBTQ plus health disparities, I will be on a panel discussion at 10:30. It's going to be on Zoom. It's a closed discussion though. People about a month or so signed up for it, so it's too late to get on the call. But if you've got questions, concerns, things that you think need to be brought up, topics that you think need to be shared, inbox me here. If you've got my number, text me. I'll be able to bring them into the conversation in all the wonderful ways that we bring stuff into the conversation. And I'm kind of excited about that. And this is what it is. Last night, there's a young person in our community who's putting together a documentary about being queer, about the queer community here in the Northeast and what it looks like and how it's changed over the years. And it was kind of interesting because this person got in touch with me because social media has been around for a minute. And I've lived a life that's a little bit longer than a minute. So this person got in touch with me because they wanted to talk about Shirley Q liquor. So in 2007, it was okay for queer, white, gay, at the time it was gay, for gay white people to put on blackface and go into gay bars and make fun of single black mothers, because what is funnier than making fun of a poor, destitute black mom in blackface? Nothing could be more fun than this, right? So this person knew about that controversy because that person was actually, so this white gay performer who was a drag queen, their persona was, like I just said, awful black woman in blackface, and they were coming to Hartford to perform. Now, mind you, this was 2007, and in 2007, this was socially acceptable, so we had this really strange way of having to deal with this, and it was really strange because we had, at the time, there were all of these people who really thought that it was okay, and really knew that somehow me being upset about blackface performance in gay bars was me trying to create divisions in the gay community. Fast forward, what is this, almost 20 years? Fast forward a little bit over 10 years, and we're in the same place. And it's a strange place of, I'm not trying to bring up the differences to cause division. I'm not trying to bring up these places where we're all night not nicely playing kumbaya in order to say, no, we don't belong together, but I'm doing it so that we can belong together, so that we can kind of come together and do the work there. So that was the conversation that we had yesterday, and it was wonderful. And in the middle of the conversation, it's like, wait, you do know that Kimora Leila Harrington had big old gay life before she was seen as the person who's out in the street just screaming and having this fight all over the place, for all of the reasons that we have fights all over the place. You've got all those intersections and the fights are going to happen. But I shared with him, there used to be this wonderful gay bar in Hartford called Nick's. And Nick's was awesome because it was the gay bar that was the gay bar as I was coming of age. So whatever the gay bar was when you were coming of age, that was the awesome bar for you. Nick's was mine. And Charmaine Tripp, if you know Charmaine, Charmaine's ridiculously amazing. Charmaine is an incredibly talented performer and woman in her own right in all of the ways that exists. And at that time, she ran Friday night. There was, I don't know if it was Prism at Nick's, it was Prism other places, but she ran the lesbian night. It was the place to be. I got to be a cocktail waitress there. It was a whole lot of fun running around doing that. But it was this great place and this wonderful way of figuring out who we were in the community and solidifying us and being who we were. So I will often talk about my stepping into myself as a young lesbian, as a young queer woman. And I will talk about all these wonderful and amazing older black lesbians who were there in my life to shut me down and remind me, you're pretty amazing, boy, you're cute, boy, you're great, 20 years ago, whoo, and your child shut up and listen to us. So there's this wonderful education. So in growing into my identity as a black lesbian and as a young black lesbian, I had older black lesbians there to carry me. And so that's really been on my mind. Like, how do we have these conversations in a respectful way, especially since so much of the language has changed, so much of the ways of being have changed. While we were having this conversation yesterday, I pulled Charmaine in, and we had this wonderful place where there's not a lot of young lesbians out these days. And then we have this conversation on, is it a feminist womanist thing? Like, what did we do with lesbian to make it unappealing? And what is this expansiveness? And are we just being old ladies by not stepping into this expansiveness? And hey, these are conversations that we need to have. And I think one of the most important parts of this conversation is that they need to be had in safe spaces, definitely in safe spaces, but between different generations, and between different races, and between different cultures, and definitely between different socioeconomic groups. So that happened yesterday, and this morning, Karen Williams, Black lesbian comedian out of Ohio, she's getting her doctorate, at which point she will be Dr. Karen Williams, and we will call her Dr. As I told her this morning, we're putting you in that Maya Angelou place. You are Dr. Karen Williams no matter what, all the time. But I was talking to Karen Williams, and she's an older Black lesbian who is the Mishfest set. So she was a performer at Mishfest forever. And when my generation showed up at Mishfest, at the Michigan Women's Festival, first I remember people being kind of upset that for whatever reason men weren't allowed to perform with women. So you've got all these amazing women, and we, again, young lesbians stepping into the life, had a really hard time wrapping our mind around the world that these older lesbians needed. And this world that they created, that as time went on, there were problems. Boy, were there problems. You want to read about problems, read about the Michigan Women's Festival and their early ideas on how to not accept transgender people, men or women. So again, as any group of people that moves forward in time, that you get all of this stuff where this happens, right? But Karen Williams has always been one of those lesbian mamas for me, where she was a comedian. She was on all the CDs, she was everywhere. Got to see her in P-Town. It was amazing. But she was also a single mom who was a Black lesbian living a life that I understood. And living a life that I would say that I needed to understand, but there's no one other than another Black lesbian single mother who could give me that information. So maybe about a year ago, about 10 months ago, Michelle Brown, and again, another Black lesbian. If you are doing this and taking notes, write these women's names down. They are your history. They are your mothers. They share and carry the knowledge. But Michelle Brown out there in Detroit, Michigan, old, mature Black lesbian single mom of sons, and Karen, and I got to be way back. It's interesting, we'll watch documentaries at the KCC, and I'll point out, oh, I know her. Oh, she's amazing. Oh, look, that person is wearing my jacket, because when we went out that morning, she actually forgot her jacket at the hotel and she wore mine. And there's this wonderful conversation around, wow, Kim, come on, how do you know all these important Black lesbians? Dude, look at the numbers. Gay folks were between 4 and 5% of the population. Now pull out the Black lesbian segment. Now pull out the Black lesbian segment who's going to go to different conferences around the country to talk about ourselves and our identities and how to create a world where there's more space for us and our identities. Of course, we all know each other. Of course, we've all seen each other. And I can tell you, and I bring up Michelle and Karen because I'm thinking of specific evenings at the conferences. So outside of the workshops and outside of the planning sessions and outside of all of that amazing stuff that we do, sitting in hotel bars, sitting in lobbies of hotels, and listening to them discuss their parenting journey, and listening to them figure out how to be a big, loud Black lesbian activist when there's not, and there's a lot more space for us now than there was then, when there's not a lot of space for big, loud Black lesbian activists. When all of our communities, so when our queer community is telling us that us being parents is kind of awful and anti the cause and is not really, there's no place for children in the gay world at all, right? So we got the gay community telling us that we weren't really gay or down for the cause because we had our children. And then we had the Black community who of course knew that if we were lesbians, then we were teaching our children, and definitely God bless you if you happen to be a Black lesbian in the 90s raising a son. Boy, were you the scourge of the community. Boy, were you the person who was you're going to make your son gay. You're going to ruin him. You're going to make him effeminate. Clearly, all lesbians hate men. We know that all Black women hate men. You put them together and right? So in my own life, as I was raising my Joseph, as I was raising my young child, I'm getting from that world, from the world that I've got to dwell in every day, all these messages about how horrible I am and how I'm going to destroy my Black son. but I've got these older women who are doing the work that I do and doing it on levels and in places that I want to do it at some point, and I respect them and I love them and I love everything about them, and there they are sitting in that world-weary way and being parents and being moms and talking about what it is to be a mom and how it is to be a Black lesbian mom in this world. And here we are at this conference, and we're here in DC, and this is awesome. And my kid is in Detroit, and I really hope he's safe tonight. So we've had all these wonderful ways to grow and be and move in. So this morning I got to talk to Karen. We were talking about all kinds of stuff all over the place, support and her son, because her son is actually here in Connecticut and she's concerned, and we are Black mothers and we are concerned for our children. We're concerned for our children because we live in a society that does horrible things to our children. And you're talking right now to someone who has worked to, and I will tell you that the way that I show up is different for different people. When young Black and brown people have come to me with the stories and the videos of the executions that have been happening in our country for the last 20 years, I've got more space. And I sit with them and I ride the horrible ride of, how could this happen? Why did they do this? He was doing this, he wasn't doing this, what is this? And with those young people, I can sit with them and hold them and go through all of that, because they're hitting like, dude, how? Think about it. Go back. I see who's on here right now, and most of you are grown-ups. Go back to the first time you realized that it was fucking open season on your body because of your melanin. Go back. I know every so often I'll see on Facebook, you know, girls, when was the first time you realized that men were looking at your body with lust? 8, 9, that's what happens. Black folks, when was the first time you realized that the law doesn't matter, that right and wrong doesn't matter, that the courts don't matter, that this world has taken, it's just open season on you and your people. And you bring it to the powers that be, and you bring it to teachers, and you bring it stuff to folks. And I can tell you, before my, like straight up, before MySpace, during MySpace, white people, good, well-meaning, liberal white people, I'm talking to you, a couple of you might be watching right now, good, well-meaning white people needed to not believe what our reality was. They needed to understand that each and every last one of these executions was justified in some way, shape, or form. And if it wasn't justified, then it was an outlier and it was its own thing, that they could not and refused to wrap their minds around the fact that this was all day, every day. This is our reality. This is what we live in. This is what we walk in. And guess what, white folks? Your people created this, and you perpetuate this by pretending like it's not there. So I choose not to watch the videos. I've seen the videos. I've read the books. I've read the newspaper articles. I've read the accounts. There's no need for me right now to watch a video of white people hunting and murdering Black people to understand that it's real and that this is my reality. And I'm seeing many of those people who were once young people who came to me with this, Kamora, can you believe this is happening? Now sitting in that world-weary place of, don't watch the videos. I can't believe you're watching the videos. If you need this video to believe that this is true, then there's something wrong with you. Well, guess what? We are fed such a line of bullshit in this country from the day we are born that it makes sense that we would have a hard time believing that this is our reality. Many of us melanated folks, we haven't had the ability or the luxury of being able to pretend that what's happening in our face is not happening on a daily basis. White folks, there is a concerted effort to make sure that you have no idea what the reality of Black people in this country are, which is how you're able to say, well, why didn't you call the police? This awful thing happened. Why didn't you call the police? I mean, what's wrong with you? Why are you not trying to take care of yourself? Dude, because they kill us. We call them and they kill us. And when we call them and they don't kill us, they arrest us. And they use us and our lives against us. So the reality, the ugly place where accepting that as a reality that you now need to navigate in your life is something that I take very, very seriously. And with young people, I will sit and I'll have the conversations, and I'll respectfully not watch the videos, but I will pull out the accounts, and I'll pull out the accounts of old lynchings and discuss how we as a people have dealt with this for years and years and years, from doing our super respectability politics to, you know, trying to dress and act and sound right, to trying to just thug it out and figure out how we're going to live in our own little Black world and not allow anyone else in. But I'll have those conversations all over the place. The place where I do not have space for ignorance is grown-ass folks, and particularly grown-ass white folks, who have chosen the beautiful, blessed positions to be in the world with young Black and brown children, okay? So I'm talking about teachers, I'm talking about social workers, I'm not talking about after-school people, I'm talking about any pediatricians. I'm talking about folks who have taken on a profession that puts them in direct contact with our children, who have gone out of their way to not understand the realities of life, and of the life that the children who they're working with are going to live in and work in and move through. I understand many, and I've dealt with this one many times, and I'd love to hear what people have to say, and I'd love to have a conversation, and a respectful conversation with people, so that we can really have the dialogue. Not the crying, oh, I'm so bad, not the, come on, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just a racist, but the real conversation. Because often when young Black students, as I'm saying young, I'm talking like, so 10th grade, 12th grade, so high school and under. When young Black children, when students go to their teachers to talk about what's happening, there's a place of trust. There's this amazing, blessed is a word that I use a lot, deal with it, but there's this beautiful place of trust where young people step into being vulnerable with someone who doesn't look, smell, sound like them, someone who comes from a different world, but someone who's in a respected space. They've chosen a position where respect comes along with it, and for some reason the young person in front of them does respect them and trusts them. And that young person goes to that adult person, white person, we're going to make you white right now, and says, oh my God, did you see that the police killed so-and-so? How could they have done that? Right there at that moment, white person, you get to perpetuate some dumb shit, or you get to help a child grow to be the person who can handle that. Now, I understand that we all want to appear to be good, loving, caring people. But white adults who don't understand that it is open season on Black bodies should not be dealing with my children. When that young person comes to you and says, oh my God, Miss Ann, did you know that this happened? How could this happen? What happened? Miss Ann, your job right then is not to go, oh my God, I know, it's so sad. This is so horrible. It breaks my heart. Miss Ann, your job is to say, this is horrible. And unfortunately, this is a reality for far too many people in this country. I am a white person, and so therefore it doesn't affect me in the same ways that it affects you. But this has been the reality in this country for hundreds of years. Why can't you do that? Why, when young Black and brown children come to you to ask you about the realities of their lives, to ask you about the sick and horrible realities of the society that we're raising them to go out and conquer, why do you need to prove to them that you're a caring person and that you're shocked by this? Can you also prove to them you're a caring person by being outraged by this? And what do you think the different reactions would be in that young person in the moment, and then that young person as they go through life later? As I can tell you, from my experience and from my experience in working with young people, that moment, Miss Ann, is your make or break moment. And very often that is the place where that young person who thought that you were an ally, who thought that you were someone who could be there for them, who thought that you were someone who they could have this conversation with, all you just said was, I'm ignorant. I have no clue. Guess what? There's a dividing line. Guess what? I came in, I make sure in the morning I'm playing that crappy ass that staccato music they listen to these days. Oh my God. But I'm proving to you that I'm of you. I come into work in the morning, listening to the crappy music that you listen to. I come into work in the morning, and here I am using the slang that you guys use. I can name the different artists that you like. But as you talk about what's happening in your life on a daily basis, as you right now are scared that you might possibly be hunted down by some white person just because you happen to be in the wrong neighborhood, I can't help you through that. I can't be a part of this conversation with you, because I need, for some reason, for you to understand that I'm a good and caring person. I need you to understand that I can't understand this, that this is new to me, and this is shocking. Adults in this country who are working with young Black and brown children, if white people murdering innocent Black people in cold blood is shocking to you, get a job at 7-Eleven. If you can't wrap your mind around how racism still exists in this country, if you are shocked and saddened by the idea that these wonderful people who you know, who are so well respected that they get accolades and commendations from their jobs, and you just can't believe that they're actually racist people who would do awful bad things to other human beings, go work somewhere else. Don't touch our children. Go somewhere. Figure out what the fuck is going on inside of you that you need to pretend and be ignorant to the truth of the world so that people can see you as a good and loving person. I am not saying that everyone needs to be pissed off, Kimora. I'm not saying that everyone needs to walk around saying, oh my God, this is fucked up. How the hell can you let this happen? That's my way. It works for me. People who need it come and are drawn to it. People who don't. Some people are like so ridiculously put off by my approach that the words that I share, as much truth as there is there, they can't hear it. That's cool, because I'm not here for everyone. But there's a whole lot of us. And for all of us who've chosen to be there for children, why are we choosing to be there for children? And what are we doing with that responsibility? Right now, I'm talking about one thing. White people and this value of appearing to be ignorant and nice. It's destroying us, it's killing our children, and it's keeping us from moving forward in the ways that we could. If you're a white person and you've chosen to be an important person, an influential person in the lives of Black and brown children, how do you and how can you wrestle with and interact with the sick truths of the world that we live in and that we've put them in? How do you handle that responsibility? Yeah, it is, Byron. I will say, though, it's cultural competency. You know me, I'm going to say that it goes a little bit deeper. It's cultural humility. I've got to sign off because I've got to go get onto this webinar right now. But Byron, again, thank you for bringing it up. Cultural competency, that was cute. We had this wonderful idea that we could learn about other people and then be adequately prepared to go and work with them. That's a nice first step, and that's a cute golden rule step, so treat others the way that you want to be treated. I'm asking you to step into that other place of cultural humility. Learn about yourself and your shit. And that will help you figure out how you show up. And that will also help you figure out how you should show up for others. It's really nice to sit inside of your head and just know that you've got all of this. But every so often, sit inside your head and really think about how it fits in and how it rolls. Again, I know Kimora is not for everyone. But I also love, trust, and respect enough of you out there to know that there are a bunch of different human beings with a whole bunch of different approaches. And together, we can take, grow, and be and get to where we need to be. But I don't believe that playing ignorant and stupid and nice is going to get us anywhere. I love all of y'all. I look forward to continuing these conversations. And I truly, truly, truly look forward to people bringing me more information so that we can just wrestle with all of it. Have a great day. Do wonderful things. I'm about to go talk about LGBTQI health disparities. You know I'm going to be the problem up in there because, dude, that's what I do. I love to come up and bring the questions and problems, not the ones that have answers or easy solutions, but the ones that we're just going to have to wrestle with forever and ever and ever. Be great. Peace out.